All right, I just ran down the hall. I got here in time. We are very fortunate to be at In Your Ear Studios for another WNRN in-studio session. Ladies and gentlemen, Emily Haines, Jimmy Shaw, please welcome Metric.
Hey!
Metric is performing tonight at the National with Secret Machines. Should be a great Richmond show. Their latest album, Formentera, is out, and you can learn more at ilovemetric.com. Emily, Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tad. This is so cool. What a great space. Hi, guys. This is so nice. Thanks for the nice welcome.
Give them a big round of applause, Emily and Jimmy. It's Metric.
All right, so Jimmy and I have been doing what we call dirt road versions of the songs from our albums. And this is a really good example of how you can take a song where the production is really electronic, really dancey, really heavy, and strip it down to another whole identity that you could picture yourself on a dirt road out in nature somewhere. So check it out. This is called Dark Saturday. Somewhere in the south of France or the Caribbean Sea, she said, I don't need to make a living. Fake diamonds got nothing on me. I met her in the world below. She's a tourist of the world beneath. I said, everything I built from nothing. She said, I'm so rich, everything's free. So dark it ain't, so dark. So dark it ain't, so dark. Forever and ever, a torch in search of a flame. To be good, get better. Well, I've been feeling this way forever and ever. A night in search of a day, as anxious as ever. It's such a dark, dark, dark Saturday. What's your name and where you from? Well, I'm worth your weight in gold. And while we lie here in the sun, the whole wide world's about to explode. Now our bodies intertwine, and the truth is plain to see. I said, everything I built from nothing. She said, don't you blame your problems on me. So dark it ain't, so dark. So dark it ain't, so dark. Forever and ever, a torch in search of a flame. To be good, get better. I change by staying the same forever and ever. A night in search of a day, as anxious as ever. It gets so dark, dark, dark. So shine a light my way. Shine a light my way. I'm having such a dark, dark, dark Saturday. Shine a light my way. It's such a dark, 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 dark Saturday. Dark, 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 dark Saturday. Dark, 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 dark Saturday.
We are very honored that you're here. I know I've seen Metric live before, but this setting is completely unique. And I really like the phrase, the dirt road style. Is this how the music began in its infancy?
No, in fact, yeah, the dirt road versions are, as I was saying, kind of another interpretation of the song. A lot of the songs develop much in the style as you hear them on the albums, but I often feel that a song has an identity that it's almost like it's the clothes that the song is wearing as opposed to the core of the song. It has a soul. Every song has a soul. So we actually really recorded and released quite a few dirt road versions of our songs that you can find on Spotify and elsewhere.
Yeah, they're recorded as Lamborghinis, and then they're deconstructed into pickup trucks.
Did the initial ideas for Formentera begin during the pandemic? How and when was the album starting to become an idea?
Well, we were already writing before the plague, and then we decided to sort of do a strange combination of blocking it out and leaning into what was happening to the world with the vision of this exact moment of ideally feeling kind of, we're not all the way out, but we're on the other side of it, and we wanted to have the music that would help people process and deal with what just happened, and also get it in the rearview mirror. So, not by suppressing what you're feeling, but by finding the words for what you're feeling, magnifying it, and most importantly, like dancing around. There's a lot of dancing and crying happening at Metric shows right now.
There are many post-pandemic albums, and too many of them sound like, hey, I wrote all this stuff because I was bored, and here it is, you must hear it now. Formentera is so much more polished than anything that's out currently that deals with these hard aspects of life. How much time did you take on just producing the album once everything was ready to go?
Well, I think that's the thing, exactly what you picked up on, is we were just like, no pandemic album, no such thing for us. We're going to just put the extra care that we would have put into making a record. We were on cycle at that moment. Like, lucky for us, we had finished Art of Doubt touring, and we would have been going into making a new record anyway. So we just treated it as a chance to put even more love and attention, and as you say, polish into everything that we did. As opposed to, I know what you mean. That was a weird time, and there was sort of some pressure to feel like, are we supposed to just be putting out random stuff? But that's not our style. So I'm glad we waited, and we're able to deliver this to people when they need something polished and put together and very, constructed.
Formentera is so well done. Is it safe to say that you are pushing yourselves sonically even farther on this release than perhaps you had before?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's kind of what we've always tried to do, and this time there was a combination of having like a lot of extra time, us feeling like we were getting close to finishing things, and everyone on the industry side telling us that we had endless amounts of time. Just keep going for another year. You're not hitting the road anytime soon. And the combination of us moving our studio into a new space that was like a really inspiring and sonically really incredible place. All those things just sort of converged to us being able to actually push our envelope as far as we could. And we were talking last night about getting back into the studio and continuing on, and it's like it gets a little daunting when that's kind of your mission, is to like make every record the end of your own ability, because it means that unless you keep pushing it, you're going to hit that end, and everyone else is going to see it, and it's going to suck. So we're kind of like excited to like get back in and see if we can push any further.
Two quick things. Are you ever afraid that you're looking at things too closely, like you start to go into the production process and you don't know how to pull yourself out? And afterwards, please describe the new studio space outside of Toronto.
Well, I mean, part of pushing yourself as far as you can, like, you're going to lose objectivity for sure. It's inevitable, and we kind of we expect it to happen and we wait for it to happen. But that doesn't mean that you can't make decisions from in there. I mean, you're not going to make artistic decisions don't necessarily need to come from like the clearest of mind. And I think we've been doing this long enough that we trust ourselves when we're not in the clearest of mind and things do get foggy and you don't really have any objectivity anymore. And that can be a beautiful place to be, and it can be inspiring in there. And and to your other question, which is kind of tied in a sense, our studio was behind my house in Toronto for the last 15 years or so, and it was very much rooted in like a reality. It's like it's a very busy street. There's lots of people. I know lots of people. It's like you come out the back door of the studio and you're like you're in a big city and you're surrounded by stuff that knows you and you know it, and there's a relationship. And at the beginning of the pandemic, we moved our studio up to Emily's house in the country, where I lived nearby as well. And it was very refreshing to make music where there's nothing coming back. There's no information, other than the trees just kind of being like, go do your thing. Whatever you did today was a good idea. Keep doing it. And so we really liked that. And we ended up, moving our studio to the country. We got this converted church, which is a beautiful space. And it's couldn't be more perfect for us in the way that we record and the way that we live. And there's bedrooms for all the people that don't live in Toronto and can come up and stay with us. And that really is like, there's no correlation between you and the rest of the world other than nature, and which is really ultimately what the rest of the world is. And it's a really beautiful thing because you can just allow yourself to just go into some sort of dreamscape, of what you're thinking and what you want to portray and what you want to say to the world. And there's very little, mirror to tell you whether you're doing it right or wrong. So yeah, we can just keep going and going and going.
I can almost hear the reverb of the church in my head. I just want to enter that space to experience the warmth.
I mean, it's definitely present on Formentera. There's like it's the sound of the building is on that record for sure.
Oh, that's beautiful. Let's congratulate Metric because they're just about to be 25. That's a big ordeal. Many bands thousands of bands have come and gone since that time, and you guys stick with it and go through it. Many years ago, when you started to self-release your albums, how liberating was that to now be able to get to this space that you're describing in the new studio?
Well, you were just talking about this the other day, about last night, actually, when we were walking back to the bus. Why don't you elaborate on that?
Well, it's just interesting, as you say, when you stick around and, kind of stay the course as we have through this whole time with a very stubborn ethical backbone that definitely made things more challenging, but also made them have any meaning whatsoever or value for me and us, is the way that you do something is as important, I believe, as what you're doing. But I was realizing yesterday, on all the things that have changed, obviously now there's literally zero barrier to, other than a Wi-Fi connection, to being able to upload music, which is a whole other conversation and is probably just great. I mean, I don't have any judgment on that other than we could have whole conversations about tech platforms, et cetera. But that aside, I realized it's right, for us, the first 5 years of us working together, 1998 to 2003, was just trying to get our music released. And we were burning CDRs, we were doing everything we could, but that was a major obstacle. And there were serious gatekeepers to that. Even the fact that we were doing what we did with the CDRs, which was our own version of iTunes before it existed, which is we had a Hotmail email address, and we'd burned some CDRs and people would be like, oh, I heard those songs, or we'd play these little shows, and you could email us, and we had a list on there that we'd send back, and you could print out and check mark which songs you wanted on there, and then we would burn you a CDR and mail it to you from our publisher's office, which I thought was kind of a nice little kick. But we couldn't get it released, and then we finally did get a deal, and then they shelved it. So all the music that we'd done for that 5 years, which there's just so much has happened that it's weird how, I'm sure you have that in your own life, where you're a massive part of your life can either just kind of go into the background or just become one sentence. And you're like, that's weird. That was
epic, huge amount of things happened. But the one sentence is, it took us 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, living in England, living in New York, doing all this stuff, crazy LA, all this stuff. But that is no longer the case, that barrier. And in fact, and this is not like revisionist in any way, I do feel that the path that set out for us and the way that we were so stubborn really set us on the right course. And our first album being Old World Underground, you know, where we had to start from scratch, that feels right to me, you know, and then the rest is history.
It's always easier for me as just the radio guy constantly listening to music to hear a band that's cut their teeth, that have really worked hard to get to where they are. And the pre-polished bands that are somehow fabricated by a record label or whatever, you can hear through that. And with Metric, I always hear earnestly. Thank you for that.
Here's a song from our new album. It's called All Comes Crashing. Starting over won't be easy. Broken, divided, split tomorrow from today. Knowing what you know just makes it harder to think straight. Starting over after it breaks. Starting over when the story's got an astounding twist. You better turn that page. When push it comes to shove, we do not fall out of love. We double down, we do not fade. For all I know, this might be my last night, if that's how it goes. There's no one I would rather be lying beside when it all comes crashing. When it all comes crashing. Starting over won't be easy. Damage be damned. Please say you love me just as I am. Starting over won't be easy. Misunderstand that pattern. Fear is forcing your hand. Knowing what you know just makes it harder to think straight. Starting over after it all breaks. When push it comes to shove, we do not fall out of love. We double down, we do not fade. For all I know, this might be my last night, if that's how it goes. There's no one I would rather be lying beside. If all we knew came crashing down tonight, I'd be with you. And there's no one I would rather be dying beside. When it all comes crashing, all comes crashing down. When it all comes crashing, all comes crashing down. For all I know, this might be my last night, if that's how it goes. There's no one I would rather be dying beside. If all we knew came crashing down tonight, I'd be with you. And there's no one I would rather be dying beside. When it all comes crashing, 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 when it all I should.
All comes crashing from Metric there. Emily, I really enjoy your songwriting because somehow you're always finding joy in just pure destruction. When it comes to your own lifestyle and current affairs, are you a realist, optimist, or pessimist?
Definitely not a pessimist. Unfortunately, probably not a realist. I think I'm an optimist.
I think you are as well, wholeheartedly. That you're taking
Well done.
some really scary stuff and you're saying, you know what, we can handle this, and I've got you by my side.
But
It's
at
a
least I
wonderful
sound
song.
depressed when I tell you I'm an optimist.
I think most optimists are. Yeah.
It takes a lot of energy. It's exhausting.
How many folks here have listened to Formentera? Just clap your hands. So when I first got it, I was taking the scenic route home from a friend's house and listening to Metric, really enjoying it. And then I found myself, I'm in a hypnotic trance because the album begins with this now epic tune, Doom Scroller. And I'm sure a lot of people are asking these same questions about this song, but is your goal with Doom Scroller to create that almost hypnotic trance-like state one becomes as you're just surfing through social media?
Well, there's a couple things in there. I mean, certainly I'm glad that you had a hypnotic experience because
Hopefully not while driving.
hopefully
No,
not while
no.
driving. We don't have to put a
Yeah.
alert sticker on there, warning. But the definition of that word in my usage in that the title of that song and the lyrics of that song and the sonics of that song is in fact, it's less about like, oh, Tammy's on a yacht. Like it's not being jealous of other people or looking at their social media. It's more the thing of feeling that I can only speak for myself, but I feel an obligation as a human being to stay informed and educated. I thought that was the point, to know what's happening in the world. And I'm not a sociopath, so I care and I feel and I want to know. And then ideally, I want to be able to be of some use in the world. And what has happened to me is the proportion got all out of whack with the sense of how much information you can get, how much you can find out of like, oh, I didn't know that terrible thing was happening. Now I do. Guess I'll just put my phone down and sit here and basically like self-combust and become really not functional. And it's a real dilemma for people who know what I'm talking about because you can't really, it doesn't feel like it's something I should change about myself. My desire to be educated and informed and my natural human response being empathy and compassion and, or maybe anger or, a sense of like wanting to participate in righting some wrong. So that is doom scrolling. And, to quote my boyfriend when I was like, oh, babe, it looks like Doom Scroller is going to make it on the record. I'm like, you remember that song? He's like, remember it. I lived it. It's not cool being around me in that state. And I think you guys know exactly what I mean. So in this case, that song, was an outlet for that. It was almost like a stream of consciousness. It was definitely a stream of consciousness thing that happened of Jimmy and Liam, who we work with, had created that hypnotic sound that you hear at the beginning that to me is like a sonic, as you say, like it's almost like if you could make the sound of what it feels like, they made that. And
It begins with like this passionate, anxiety-ridden force, and then Jimmy, the arrangements in it are so beautiful that at the very end, when you think you can't take any more of this influencer BS, and by the way, stop following influencers. Let's just cancel them as a whole. But it gets to this big epic sound, and then you bring it right back to the acoustic side of it, like going, breathe, just breathe. It's beautiful and so well constructed, and it takes you on this journey through Formentera that if you have yet to experience Formentera, grab it. It's one of my favorites of the year. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. For our last song, we'd like to do the title track from our album, Live It Out. It goes like this. On the day we were supposed to leave, you changed your mind at the station. You had a nice apartment, there was a good bar downstairs. Your old friend worked there. I'll go anyway, they won't refund the ticket. It's a good story, but I don't wanna live it alone. Crash to take a chance, we were gonna live it out. Look at you, you're already dead. No concrete adversity, only traps of our own actions, how we wanted it to be. Now I'm never gonna see you again. You checked out. Vertebrae by vertebrae, roll your way out of a coma. Look up, the nurse is smiling. What luck, the nurse is me. Your old body is dead. Your body is dead. You're a word instead. In my sleep I repeat it. It's a good story, but I don't wanna live it alone. Crash to take a chance, we were gonna live it out. Look at you, you're already dead. How will you remember me? Digging ditches out of boredom, said you would never leave. Now you're never gonna be here again.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Emily, Jimmy, it's Metric. Their new album is Formentera. I love Lucius.com. They're at the National tonight with Secret Machines. Please give them a big round of applause. A big thank you to our generous hosts here at In Your Ear Studios, Carlos, Andrea, Danny from VCU, helping out with sound today. It's awesome, and we're going to get this whole thing up on our website really quickly, but see Metric tonight at the National in Richmond with Secret Machines. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, guys.